Hello, everyone. I'm super excited to be back. So I made my first appearance at Meet Magenta UK last year, and I love it so much. So I was like, okay, I'm going to submit another paper and see if it works. So it did. Thank you for joining. Today we're going to talk about scoping, iterating, and how to work smarter and maybe using different techniques. A few words about myself. My name is Ksenia. I work at Mollie. Mollie is a payment service provider. I'm based in Amsterdam, so I flew all the way from the Netherlands here. And a few personal facts. Indeed, I'm a women in tech advocate. I truly believe that we should help as much as we could to the younger generation specifically, and those who just start their career. But of course, sometimes I'm helping men as well. So nothing here, only towards the women. I have a Tiffany British short hair, so if anybody loves pets, happy to chat afterwards. And if you're not the first time at my talk, I had a pretty good Uber rating which dropped this year. So I had like 4.98, and now it's dropped to 4.94. So not sure what happens, but I'm transparent with my audience. I'm open, I'm honest. It's dropped, it happened. Here we go. All right, let's get it started. I'm sure most of you in this room, you had this state where you're like, okay, I have too many feature requests, some priorities getting lost. You're stuck in the firefighting mode and like just trying to get, okay, this is not working, it's not working, this is not working, and there is no really way for you to move forward with this. And this chaos, let's call it this way, of course, it frustrates customers, merchants, it delays the launch itself, and overall, sometimes you're thinking, okay, how I get out of this circle, never-ending circle. Today, we're not going to talk about, okay, how we can work harder and do more. So the idea today is to talk about how can we work smarter. And the truth is there is no one methodology in development cycles or in project management, product management that fits all. Everything that I'm going to talk about today, it's solely based on my experience. So I do have developer experience, and now I'm into product side. I have engineering team. And of course, there are way more things that you can learn and search outside and see outside. And I'm not saying this is the only truth here, right? But these ones worked pretty well for me. And I thought I would want to share them with you so you can save some time and maybe start implementing something maybe after this talk. I took a lot of the Marty Keegan, who's amazing product genius in product management. I took some from their shape up methodology from the Basecamp, some Asana technique, Teresa Torres on the continuous development. So all of the things, it's not me who came up with all of that, but I tried many things and now bring you like a short version, a summary that you can work in your development. So let's start with the most common setbacks. I believe like it doesn't matter the size of your team, right? Because I know that some agencies, they have maybe big teams. Sometimes if you're in a customer organization, you might have just, I don't know, 2 people in the house. You also can be a developer founder who are building things. And I also try to accommodate here not only agencies building web shops, but also I know sometimes agencies building some SaaS products. And you also want to make sure that it's covered here. So I feel like not having clear scope and when there is a misalignment between customer, between business, between development is one of the most common setbacks. Sometimes you have this resistant to change every time you're getting new insights and you're like, okay, this is how it should be done. Or maybe a customer gave you some feedback what should be improved. For some teams, it's also quite difficult to just stop doing this and go with a direction that will make probably will bring you better outcome and value. And all of the things like timelines and again, firefighting when you're like mostly in reactive mode rather than being proactive and reducing some of the things that you could, like fix before. So I think the majority of this can be solved. Is it easy? No one is saying it's easy, but I believe that you can actually take a control of all of this setbacks and things that keep you away from shipping. So today we're going to talk about two major streams. So I'm going to talk about principles. Think about it as a guiding rules. And second, I'm going to talk about techniques, which are specific practical methods that will help you to keep you on track with your development. And first, and probably one of the most important one when I talk about engineers and developers, and that's something that I also implemented right away in my team, that I believe that everybody should adopt a product mindset. It's not something that only your customer should have. It's not something that your product manager, or maybe you don't have a product manager should have. It's not about that your CTO only cares, or maybe lead developer, okay, this is how we do that. It's way more efficient if you adopt it and you start thinking in the way like, okay, it's my ownership as well. If you're a developer, or maybe you're a designer, or I don't know who else in this room, but it should be a shared responsibility of the team that building the project. And of course, it also means that you follow this continuous discovery and validation while you're building something, whether it's web store or you're building something else, some maybe SaaS product and so on and so forth. On this side, you can also see this diagram, which also pretty much describes the product mindset, I would say, and the key terms in there. So it's desirability, feasibility, and viability. And of course, you want to build products somewhere here. So when we talk about desirability, you always think, okay, what's unique about this? Do actually people want this to be there? And it can be any product feature. Viability, okay, what has to be true for this business to work? It's more, of course, about if you're building something outside of their web shop, but also for web shop, same question can ask you and your customers. And feasibility, it's on the technical side. Okay, is it even possible to build this? Because again, many times you're being asked, okay, you have to customize this shop like in a tremendous ways. And you're like, why would I spend all this time? And why would I even would it worth to do this? So when you go somewhere outside of this place, yeah, it can be more costly, it may be less efficient, it might have some consequences on how you process and how you go ahead with your product. So this is very first principle, again, like shared co-ownership, shared responsibility, and continuous delivery, discovery, and validation. So second principles, focusing on outcomes over output. Think about it as outcomes. It's a business value, what you're actually delivering to your user. It's about, let's say, I want to improve conversion rate, or maybe I want to reduce abandonment rate of my car to 15%. So it's about the outcome. But output, the actual work done. You can say, okay, I just built 100 of features. I wrote maybe 2K lines of code. It's all important, okay? But your output doesn't necessarily mean has influence in the business value. So ideally, you always have to translate, okay, how my output actually converted into the outcomes. Another one, it's actually taken from the Basecamp and Shape Up methodology. And I personally, I don't use everything like entire methodology of Shape Up, but I'm just picking things that work for me and then mix them with other things. It's pretty simple, but yet I can say that when we are building something, we always just go ahead sometimes too fast with things. But first of all, just sit and think about, okay, that's my idea. How am I going to shape it? What's needed to be built there? What's the minimum? Like you have to ask, what's the customer pain and what's the minimum I have to build to solve this pain? So from the shaping process, you go into the building process. You have some scopes mapped here. Then you probably finish in one scope. Then you fully map the scopes, but you're finishing the most important scopes without, let's say, Without these scopes, product probably wouldn't make sense. All right, now let's talk about their deadlines, or maybe let's not actually talk about deadlines. This is very nice technique or principle, so how you can use your time, especially when you're managing big project, maybe with many layers, maybe which include lots of integrations and infrastructure and so on and so forth. Set an appetite. What does it mean? Think about appetite as a time budget. And think about how much time you're ready to spend to this project instead of how much time it will take. Okay, it's a little bit shift in the mindset. Because if you have any time, and let's say unlimited time and limited resources to drive your project, it's it allows you to go as far as you want with your time and actually even losing some time. So you'll probably keep postponing the launch. You will keep adding some nice to have features that probably don't need to be there. And it's also spend of money and your time, right? So probably it's something that you definitely want to avoid. And these are the questions that can help you with this to identify it. Okay, first, how much time I'm ready to spend on this? What tools will I need to use? Is this even feasible to deliver that? And what part of building this will most likely slow me down? Because I always think about that you have a known part, some that you're doing first time. Let's say you never tried Hoover, and then you're like, I want to try Hoover. I've never implemented it. I have no idea how much time will it take. It's something unknown. But then there are other things like that you tried and done multiple times. And of course, these things, they will kind of get up to speed and you can be more pragmatic in terms of how much time will it take. So think about it as a fixed time and a variable scope, because it also helps you to be very pragmatic in terms of what you cut out of the scope. I think it's very difficult sometimes to actually navigate this, and you're like, oh, I need this feature and also need this, and maybe I also need this, but you're being more pragmatic and more straight to the point in terms of cutting everything that you don't need, or maybe customer don't need. And then you can start delivering value already with your MVP. Okay, so we talked about the principles, and I would say for principles, it's something that your guiding rules, you follow them all the time. You just try to keep that in mind, and you it's not like, oh, I learned it once, and now maybe I'm not going to use it again. It's your mindset. It's a principle that you use. Now let's talk about techniques. First, rapid prototyping. I would say that quite a few teams, and I would say that even my team, when I've been working, my team that I have been working before, always try to bring their really amazing design, like very refined version and everything, which honestly doesn't make sense. So what I'm doing now when I'm building something, even if I don't have a lot of the design skills, I build ugly prototype. Seriously, I do build ugly. It looks ugly. Nobody likes it, but it works. And that gives me the possibility to showcase this ugly prototype to user, to customer, and actually verify and validate if it works, so it's not working. For this, to build it ugly, I need 1 day, 2 days. Of course, I don't go with a heavy lifting on backend. All right, so just to be sure, sometimes it may require, of course, backend, but not much. I don't go into proper solution. I go into prototyping. Another technique, it's 6-week cycle. This one is taken from Shape Up. I would say it will work for certain teams. And what's great about this is that you can achieve in 6 weeks tangible results. And actually, when you have some piece of your project done completely, not let's say only, oh, I've done just UI, or maybe, oh, I just done backend or something else. So you have a little project, a little piece of the project. Think about a piece of cake that you've done entirely with all layers. So what's the point here? You plan and shape, this is out of cycle, right? So I'll start with this. You start with shaping your ideas, let's call them bets. And at the same time, like I would say this can be done by lead engineer or project manager, or like it depends on your setup, what you have in your company. And at the same time, engineers, they build in what was before, because it's like never-ending cycle, right? When you shaped certain bets, what has to be done, you spend time on identifying, okay, what's the most important part next? What's going to make the biggest impact? What's going to bring the biggest value? So you always have to prioritize, because you can't take care of everything right away. In the meantime, on the engineering side, there is a cool down. So this is a time when you're taking all this ad hoc requests, all this nice to have features, all of these bugs, anything that you have, which is not necessarily in the bet in the major project. But you never take anything when you're in a build phase, when you're in this 6-week cycle. So if you're bad to, let's say, revamp entirely the checkout, you don't touch anything else. And it might be, of course, different time here. So it can be several bets, and all of them can have, let's say, 2 weeks time frame, right? But what's important that you only focus on this. I believe that it helps dramatically to the bigger teams, and especially when you're probably in a big organization. And now and then you have some people coming up, oh, hey, can you help me out with this? Can you help me out with this? I can't fix it. And then it requires the time. It actually getting you distracted from your project, and then it's postponing, and so on and so forth. So to keep your laser focused on things, that works amazingly. Again, you can also tweak their cycle. So if you have a small team, maybe small project, so on and so forth. But the idea here, like here you focused, here you do something nice to have, bugs, etc. Then you keep your focus, then you again cool down. Okay. What if I told you that t-shirt size task weren't only, well, for clothing? So this is actually a very powerful estimation tool, and I use it a lot because it's very easy, very simple, very easy to adopt by the entire team if you never tried it before. So what's the point? All of us know t-shirts, right? I mean, I assume so. And all of us know sizes because it's something that we use in our daily life. Like, okay, I'm wearing medium, my jeans medium. You have a common understanding what size means. You understand what small means, you understand what medium means, large, and XL. And this is pretty common thing to align with your team members. What do you mean when it's, let's say, small task, maybe it's medium task, maybe it's large task? It's easier to estimate and easier to do the capacity planning based on this. So I can give an example how I did it in Mollie. It's literally my project, and it's a webhooks project. So you'll see here that I had some tickets, of course. I had t-shirt size assigned to the full initiative, but then I also split it to the smaller ones. And I'm like, okay, initial set up dev environment, or then set up repository, project configurations. I also assigned all of these sizes. And then, of course, I was like, everybody who was working with me on this, are like, how does it look for you? Does it look fair? Does it look good? Yeah, and usually it's kind of, again, like, because you're talking about some common things around. All right. Feature flags. So now let's talk about continuous development. How many of you ever used feature flags? Very nice. We have quite a few people. Great. I love feature flags. I use them all the time because it's an amazing opportunity for you to ship code to production as something ready. You can do it daily. You don't have this like manual gates. You basically build a feature, you wrap it up in a flag, you test it. Let's say you switch it on for, okay, let's say you created a new navbar in your shop. You created, you rolled out to 5% of the traffic. You see how it goes. You see what's the feedback. Does it work? Does it not work? If it's not working, okay, you don't need to redeploy. You just switch it off. If it is working, you scale further and have more traffic coming. Very nice thing to use. Like I always like for teams who are not using it, I always encourage, like, it's one of the best things for you to validate and find early bugs and so on and so forth. And that would be my last technique here to share with you. For this, I have to thank Teresa Torres, who is also talking a lot about the continuous development. When you have a bigger team, for instance, if you're working in a customer organization, most likely you will do some risk assessments. Most likely you're like, okay, what can go wrong? And then you answer these questions, what can go wrong? But if you have a smaller scale agency, or maybe you have like a smaller company as a customer, maybe you're the only one developer, which is also the case. You can always do this pre-mortem, which is like before shipping. So you spend 45 minutes of your time being extra paranoid and thinking, okay, what can go wrong? What is my DB overloaded? What my page crashed? What can go wrong based on the technical setup that you have? And again, you don't need to build like a full-scale risk assessment for that if you don't have resources for that. But 45 minutes, and you put everything what's possible there, and then it solves you, like it helps you to be ahead of the possible bugs and errors before you go live. So overall, I want to say that there is like a mantra that I follow in the delivering products, that if you're done, like if your project is done 60 to 80%, you're likely in a good shape. But if it's below 60, it's probably horrible. And hey, like 100% doesn't exist. Like, I don't know anybody who would say like, okay, what's about 100%, how you go GA, and so on and so forth. It's continuous improvements, continuous discovery, it's continuous customers adding more features to the scope and saying we also need this and that. So my message to you will be, the key thing is, whatever you're doing, whatever you're building, whether it's a web store, web shop, SaaS, bring it in front of as many eyes as possible, as many users as possible, so they can check it out and give you direct feedback. That would be it. Thank you so much.